Namaste everyone. I am Vaidya Anupama K, Professor and Program Director of Ayurvedic Medicine at Southern California University of Health Science. I would like to thank Dr. Ram and Indo-Nepal Ayurveda Cooperation Campaign for inviting me on this platform to talk about Ayurvedic diet or the diet for respiratory system disorder among children. So I'm going to share my PowerPoint presentation and then when we will start the talk. I hope you can see my presentation. Give me 1 second. It's not pulling up, I think. Okay. I hope you can see the presentation. So the topic for today's dietary approach for respiratory disorders among children. Give me 1 second. Let me check the topic for today. Okay, I think you can see now. Good. So when we talk about the pediatric respiratory disease, we know that it's especially pediatric asthma is one of the major clinical concern worldwide and represent a huge burden on family and society. It accounts for many lost school days and may deprive the child of both academic achievement and social interaction. In children, asthma prevalence was reported to be 3.5% in 1980, and 30 years later, that figure had jumped up to 9.5% of children aged between 0 to 17 years. And at present, actually, an estimated 7 million children in the US suffer from asthma. So early detection and treatment, as well as preventive measures, play a major role to address this concern. So here, main question is, does diet play a role in respiratory disease among children? So what I'm going to present is there are a couple of scientific study, actual research studies done on this topic, the role of diet and like manifestation of the respiratory disease as well as management of the respiratory disease among children. So infectious disease, particularly the respiratory tract, are leading cause of morbidity and hospitalization in infant and children in industrialized country. Diet during pregnancy has been suggested to be associated with the asthma-related symptom in the offspring. And duration and exclusiveness of breastfeeding has been found to be related to asthma and respiratory tract infection. In infancy and childhood, breastfeeding seems to be the protective role here for treating wheezing, especially first 2 years of life. There are research studies also shown intake of specific nutrient and food during childhood has a relationship with the development of asthma and respiratory tract infection. Intake of calorie-rich food has been associated with the higher prevalence of asthma. So all these topics have been scientifically or evident, we have studied about this, and there are a lot of publication on this correlation. So we know that the Western diet mainly characterized by high intake of refined grain, soup, and sauces and savory and snacks, and also other fats and sugar containing beverage and meat. So the study done by Tom et al. Indicate that higher risk of frequent respiratory symptoms among children at the age of 3 to 4 years are associated with this type of diet. Research also indicate that the children with respiratory tract infection often suffer from the gastrointestinal disorder. and that might to be connected to the unhealthy diet. So we can see here a gut respiratory system connection. And later I will show how this can be correlated from the Ayurvedic perspective. So potential role of dietary habit in the incidence of respiratory tract infection among the children. This is very important topic actually. For the management of the respiratory system disease, this factor play a major role. So now there are other studies published on connection between gut microbiome. The concept of microbiome is an emerging field nowadays, right? So gut microbiome and respiratory tract. The study done by J.C. Madan et al. Actually demonstrate that. And there are other studies about yogurt and other fermented food as a source of health promoting bacteria. So the study conclude that fermented food improve intestinal health and reduce duration and incidence of respiratory infection and enhance the immunity and anti-inflammatory response. So now let's look at the food most commonly taken by newborn kids and breast milk, right? That is their major food. So breastfeeding seems to have a protective role against viral wheezing, especially in the first 2 years of life. This effect is probably mediated by immune system enhancing properties of human breast milk, and that limit the rate of viral respiratory infection in infancy. Another systematic review of 5 birth cohorts and 3 cross-sectional study found that children and adolescents who had been breastfed for more than 4 months had a 200 to 100 ml greater forced vital capacity than children who received the formula feeding. See, you can see the correlation right now here, right? The breastfeeding definitely play a major role in preventing some of the respiratory tract disease. So more recently, another data, spirometry data recorded at 10 years of age in over 4,000 children, actually. This study is done among 4,000 kids. And this also shows that breastfeeding shorter than 6 months was associated with the lower forced food expelled volume. And also the findings suggest that breastfeeding enhanced the lung growth, possibly through the action of cytokines and the growth factors involved in the lung maturation and some other genes also. So this actually I have taken from the Lancet. This is the data about the breastfeeding in the 21st century. If you look at here, the lighter color, as the color get lighter, that means there is not that many percentage of the children who receiving breastfeeding is very lesser, this lighter color area. The green color, as it get more darker green, that's where more dense people, more kids are getting the breastfeeding. So you can see like India and things are still better, but US and the other European country, there are less breastfeeding is happening happening there. So we can see how this correlate with the current data of the respiratory system disease. But let's look at the connection between shaping the gut microbiota by breastfeeding. Does it have any role? We said that, the breastfeeding people, breastfeeding and respiratory tract infection, there is a connection. When kids who have been fed with the breast milk are suffering less number of respiratory tract disease. But does the breastfeeding play a role in strengthening or shaping the gut microbiota? Actually, the study by Elson et al. Indicate that, yes, breastfeeding definitely play a role in gut microbiota and highlight the potential of this strategy for allergy prevention as well. Let's look at another. So study maturation of gut microbiota and risk of asthma. So what happens if this gut microbiota is not taken care properly, it's not developed properly? Does it play a role in manifestation of the respiratory disease? So this study actually demonstrates that lacking of microbial stimulation during the first years of life can trigger the inherited asthma risk. So now we can see a connection between breastfeeding with the gut microbiota. If the gut microbiota is healthy, then that also prevents the respiratory tract disease. So that will answer here, right? So see, look at this. CDC data indicate that there are about 6.2 million children under the age of 18 with asthma. In 2016, about 50% of children under the age of 5 with asthma had an episode. So earlier I have shown the map, right, where the breastfeeding are very minimal. So the one of that is US actually, but we can see that in US also the kids are more prone, more than about 50% of the children under age are suffering with asthma. So you can see the correlation there itself. So now let's look at the property. What is the properties of breast milk? It's from Ayurvedic perspective. This is from Kashyapa Samhita. It is provide good strength, well-developed body part, sufficient growth and help for sufficient growth and development. It's good for immune system, provide happiness, intellect, good sound, good looking, willpower, enthusiasm, and good energy will be achieved by the children who are breastfed. So generally milk, including breast milk, is from Ayurvedic perspective, it is Shitala, Snigdam, Maduram, and Rakta Prasadana, Bhalya, Medya, Jivaniya, Shwasa, and Kasahara. Look at here, it's explained Shwasa and Kasahara. So it is support the Rasadi Dadu and it's most Satmya food for the children and support the various growth factors and immunity. So now we kind of concluded about the breast milk. Let's look at the excessive cheese consumption. Is it danger? Is there any evidence-based study? Is there a research published that excessive cheese consumption is danger for respiratory disease? So Woods et al. Reported that positive association between bronchial hyperactivity and consumption of ricotta cheese. The mechanism by which the dairy product may influence the development of asthma are not very clear, but may include the response to the milk protein and milk lipids. But the study shows that excess consumption of cheese, here particular type of cheese they have used, has a correlation between bronchial hyperactivity. So even in Ayurveda, people suffer from the respiratory disease, we tell the one of the apatya, right, is avoid cheese or dairy product. So let's look at the another study, whether dietary fat consumption and systemic inflammation has any correlation. So high fat diet intake has been shown to alter microbial composition in the intestine, which can induce systemic inflammation. This has proven, this study is actually, I have given the reference here. So another research study indicate that dietary fat, either lard or fish oil used in high fat diet induce activation of immune response. Another study also published about high fat diet increases circulatory pro-inflammatory cytokine and neutrophil level, which can affect lung health. So this study indicates that increase in both TLR4 expression on induced sputum cells and neutrophil count in the sputum of subject with asthma fed a high fat containing meal. Again, if you look at from Ayurvedic perspective, high fat diet, what is it? Dense guru, heavy food, right? Manda, dense food, and the snigdha food. This comes under category. And according to Ayurveda, we don't recommend this for people suffering from the respiratory disease, right? So you can see, most of the time I feel like some of this principle, it's a revalidation of what is explained in our Ayurvedic literature. So what I'm trying to show here is what is explained in the Ayurvedic literature, and then what kind of studies, how we can correlate that with the evidence-based report. Next one. Thus, the sugar drinks are the key driver of our overconsumption or added sugar. Is processed sugar is danger? This is one of highly consumed with the kids, right? Like kids take a lot of sugar, either in the juice or different type of snacks. Does it cause danger for respiratory health? So there's this study actually, Brenson et al. Published this one, an association of sugar containing beverages with asthma prevalence in 11-year-old children. So what this study conclude that higher consumption of 100% fruit juice and sugar containing beverage is associated with increased asthma risk. If you are consuming excessive sugar, not minimal dose, but excess consumption of the sugar, definitely can see a correlation with the asthma. So, but this study also concluded that they need a further evaluation. This because they also find that fruit juice as a connection, higher consumption of the fruit juice, 100% fruit juice, and then connection between asthma. This actually, look at this. This study is done among the 2,400 kids. So it's not a case report or a case series study. So it's a larger studies. And again, from Ayurvedic perspective, Madura, Rasa, too much sugar, we tell that for kapha disease, respiratory tract disease or respiratory symptom disease in general, you can consider kapha predominant, right? And one of the rasa we tell them to avoid is Madura Rasa. Excessive consumption of Madura Rasa should be avoided. So this also again revalidated with the scientific studies. The next one, plant-based diet is good for asthma or not. So the study done in 2014, this one was published, fruit and vegetable intake and risk of wheezing and asthma. The study concluded that reduction in pro-inflammatory cytokines and increase in anti-inflammatory markers associated with the fruit and vegetable. So nutrients such as unsaturated fatty acid, antioxidant obtained from the plant-based food have been shown to reduce the respiratory tract infection. So what we can compare, the plant-based diet is Lagu Ahara, right? That is something we recommend for kapha predominant disease or respiratory tract disease, asthma, cough, etc. We usually tell avoid heavy food, recommend the Lagu Ahara. So this one is a slight attempt. This is actually micronutrient on the lung development and its function. So we know that for the respiratory system or lung function, vitamin A is very important. And there are, so all this vitamin A, vitamin D, vitamin E, zinc, and vitamin C, these are scientifically shown that very important for healthy lung and healthy functioning of the respiratory system. So when we talk about Patya also, like, for general health for lung or general health for respiratory system, what is vitamin A rich food is more whole milk, ghee can be considered. Vitamin D, the best source is sunlight, but then egg yolk, butter is very good. And vitamin E, again, ghee is rich in vitamin E, zinc, millet and almond are very good. Vitamin C, our amalaki. So from the dietary perspective, for the this disease, we can recommend food in this category for not preventing the disease as well as healthy functioning of lung. So for diet for the children, infancy and children is the age of maximum growth and development. So Satmya Ahara at this age is very important. And we have seen the Satmya Ahara for the kids are the breast milk, one of the, which are Madhura Rasa, Snigdha Guna and Brahmana Karma. This is for healthy kids, in general. But this age group is being, kapha is predominant. So excess consumption of the food with the above quality can lead to disease. So the pediatric age group generally present with kapha and vata disease. So we need to make sure, asatmya ahara needs to be avoided. This group include 18 type of viruddha that leads to the viruddha aharas. So we need to pay attention to that. Satmya ahara, the food which are free from 18 type of viruddha, which are not so heavy, are satmya for children, such as shali, shashtiga, yava, ghee, etc. This is for health promotion aspect. So milk is considered as most congenital food in pediatric practice. It is considered as Janma Satmya, according to Ayurveda, and lead to well-formed, stable, and compact food. This is from Kashyapa Samhita. And Gridha is also one of the one which increase ojas, bhala, varna, Ayu, Meta, Dhriti, and Smriti. So here glycoprotein in the ghee play a significant role in the development of brain, which is now scientifically proven. But Ayurveda it's recommend ghee a lot, right? Various disease we use for treating the disease, we use the ghee, or in general health promotion, we recommend ghee. So these all come under the Satmya Ahara for the kids. So food to avoid for respiratory disorder, when we summarize, what are the concept, what are the general principle we can use here? So we know that Shasa and Kasa is considered as, it's originated from Amasya. It's Amashya Samudbhava Vyadhi. Jwara is also originated from Amashya, because then the Patya and Apatya for Shasa and Kasa can be lined with the Jwara Chikitsa, if you look at it in that perspective. Patya and Apatya for Jara is mainly aimed at correcting the Amashya and Agni. That's why most of the respiratory disease, we need to treat the gut. When we treat the gut, it's very important to play the quality of the food, quantity of the food, and the compatibility of the food, when you eat, how you eat, etc. Arogya Kalpadruma talk about curd, ghee, meat, and Guru Ahara must be avoided till children complete his 3rd day of bath after recovering from Jwara. So this can be the similar concept recommended for the respiratory disease as well. Because if you look at the classical literature, we cannot find exact lot of information about the diet for respiratory disorder. So we need to look at the foundational, the basic principle there, the pathology there, and how we can correlate with the other concept and come up with the diet here. So Lagu Ahara should be given, and the quantity must be raised consistently considering the recovery period. So this is a general slide actually. In general, we can consider respiratory disease as a kapha predominant. And I just put some of the important, the diet recommendation, which are good for kapha predominant condition, which we need to pay attention to reduce or avoid for kapha predominant. So the main taste, pungent, bitter, astringent will be good for kapha predominant disease. And we have to make sure either reduce or avoid sweet, sour, and salty taste. So these are the different category of food here. So, but some of the important, when we talk about the diet, without talking about this, we cannot move. So it's what to eat, how to eat, when to eat is very important principle from Ayurvedic perspective. And role of digestion in health and disease. Most of our disease, we have patya and apatya. That itself shows that Ayurveda give more importance to the diet, along with the herbal recommendation and lifestyle recommendation. So we know this chrononutrition is an emerging field now. Timing, frequency, and regularity of food intake, these are the principal Ayurvedic dietary approach is built on, right? What time we are eating, how often you need to eat. These are very important. And concept of nutrogenomics, that is another emerging field in the modern nutrition field. Food or nutrient can influence the expression of genes in the body. That is actually one of the foundational principles, right? That's why we tell when the mother is conceived, it's very important. We have a specific diet for the mother, because so that we can bring a healthy offspring, right? Healthy kids. So that shows that food can influence the gene. The concept of epigenetics built upon here, right? So eat less and live longer. Quality of food and quantity of food based on the individualized. It's not in general approach we do. We have to look at the person's constitution. Based on that, we recommend the diet for health promotion. If a person is having some symptom for a disease, based on that person's symptom and dosha imbalance, dhatu imbalance, all the other biological energies imbalance, based on that, we recommend the diet. So important here is to understand the concept of Agni and the formation of Ama. So if the food what you eat doesn't get digested properly, there are accumulation of Ama, undigested metabolites. And we know that this Ama can play a major role in manifestation of the various diseases. So one must pay attention to his Agni, the digestive fire, whether it is strong enough to digest the food what we eat. So Ayurveda craft individualized immunity based on diet and lifestyle. It take into a consideration of diurnal changes, circadian rhythm, individual body constitution, etc. Healthy body and healthy mind together enhance the immunity. For Ayurveda, it is not segmented response. It is a body-mind response. So when we talk about the diet, there are important 8 rules for taking the diet. So nature of the food article, we need to pay attention, method of processing the food, with what this food is combining, and quantity, the climate this food is grown, and where you are staying, like which climate, if it is a hot climate, if it's a winter, summer, etc. And time, what time are you eating? Morning, afternoon, evening, lunch should be our largest meal, right? Heavy food should finish at least by lunch time. Try to avoid heavy food during night time or evening time. Wholesomeness of individual who takes the food also we need to pay attention. And there are certain rules governing the intake of food. Let's look at what are these rules. Ayurveda say that one should take warm food, unctuous food, and take it in a proper quantity, and also make sure that the previous meal is digested. Make sure to avoid the food intake with the contradictory properties. Should take the food in a proper place. You have to sit in front of the food, feel the food, smell the food, chew the food. The mindful eating practice is now emerging field, because the food what we eat is going to convert our bone, our muscle, everything, tissues, etc. So energy is in the body. So it's very important you pay attention what you are putting inside your body. And we should not take the food too hurry, and also too slow also. But it's very common nowadays, lunch meeting, dinner meeting, right? So traditionally, if you look at, we sit in a quiet place or with the family, and then eat slowly, not too hurry, not too slow. Should take the food with the full concentration and due regard to his own self. So in summary, digestion and metabolism play a major role in respiratory health. Certain food can cause the imbalance in the biological energies in the body, such as Vata, Pitta, Kapha, and which can further vitiate, and acne can cause further vitiate the acne, and there can be ama formation, and there can manifestation of the respiratory disease. So identify dosha, dhatu, mala, acne imbalance and recommend the diet accordingly. So it's not in general, we have in general category of food to avoid in the respiratory system disease, but also it's very important to examine the patient individually and then understand what are the pathologies there, and based on that recommend the diet. To promote the respiratory health, it's very important to educate the kids to eat healthy. Evidence from the classical textbook and current contemporary science indicate that importance of food in a maintenance of the respiratory health. And what I tried to show in this presentation, whatever is explained in Ayurveda is actually evidence-based report. There are scientific studies now. Ayurveda has mentioned thousands of years back this statement. Avoid Madhura Rasa for respiratory disease, avoid heavy food in the respiratory disease. Breast milk is very good. It's very important. But now they are scientifically revalidating with the research study that these are correct. So this is the summary of the presentation. But thank you very much for this opportunity. Thanks, Dr. Ram and your team, for giving this opportunity to talk to your Ayurveda community. Namaste, everyone.